Good evening, everyone. I hope you all are doing great. My name is Arpita Bhatt, and I am a core team member of BSc GLB ITM. I am feeling amazingly special to have this chance to address all of you on behalf of my team at the second session of our ongoing event, that is Android Study Jams. As in our first session, we have already discussed about the basics of Android Study Jams and covered Unit 1 of Track 1 that was new to programming track. So let me quickly recap what we have done earlier in our previous session. As you all know, this course is made up of two tracks, and these tracks are further divided into units, and units are composed of pathways. First unit of track 1 has 4 pathways, that is Introduction to Kotlin, create your first app, third one is build a basic layout, and fourth is add button to an app. So there are 4 earnable badges for this unit which can be earned only after the completion of all the code labs and quizzes. So let me show you some of the glimpses from the unit 1, which I hope you all must have already completed. Here's the birthday card app. I really found this very fascinating and quite interesting to code. These are some of the compulsive code labs. As here on the screen you can see. There are some optional code labs too. These code labs are easy to understand and they are very interesting. And once after the completion of the quiz, you must have earned a badge for that particular pathway. Let me show you my developer's profile. Okay, so here, as you can see, I have earned these badges only after I have completed all my pathways. So I hope you all have already completed up till here and earned all of your badges for Unit 1. Now we are good to go further. Today we are going to discuss Unit 2 of Track 1. Here we'll discuss mainly about the classes, Material Design Library, Recycler View in Kotlin, and many more things that Bertul will let you know. So let's get started. Now I'd like to hand over to the facilitator of this event, that is Vartul, and also in case of any doubts or questions, feel free to drop it in the chat box. We'll be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Hey everyone, welcome to yet another session of this Android Study Jam, and I'm your facilitator. My name is Vartul. So in last session, as Arpita told us that we made few apps, went to the basics of the Kotlin and learned about some views like text view and image view. So today we are gonna. So first, let me share my presentation. Okay, I hope my screen is visible to you all. So today, first, we are gonna discuss about classes in Kotlin. So as a developer or as a human being, we often group something, we often group things in classes or in some sort of in same category. Like if we have a cat, we have a dog, or we have a bird. So we put them in the classes of pets that are domestic animals, and then we put the domestic animals and other animals, street animals, that the street dogs. We put them all in the category or single category, that is animals. So similarly in programming, we do so by putting them in an object. Like we can create an object of animals, then wherein the animals have the properties like they have legs, they have skin colors. and then they have the number of hearts or some or some other organs in them. And then each animal have different number of legs, or some walk on, some can walk, some can swim. So each animal have their own properties. Then we will make the classes of those. Uh, we can make the classes of those animals like the class of dog, and wherein we can extend the property of animals. Like all the animals have the common property, so they will extend that animal class. And in the legs, we can write for dog is equal to 4. So that was a brief description of classes. So the brief description, you can say classes are used to group all our data into one all data together. And also the classes is an important topic of OOPS, that's the object oriented programming. So all the programming languages that are based on OOPS have this concept of classes. So classes also have a concept of inheritance. Inheritance, we can, as I spoke about, inheritance, like rather than writing your code again and again, you can you can make a base class or a parent class, and then inherit that parent class. Then the child classes can inherit that parent class. So here in concept of programming, that's the reusability of code, or DRY, do not repeat yourself. It is implemented. Like you do not have to write that again and again. You can just extend that class or inherit that class. So in Kotlin, if you make yeah, any class like class A, class B, or you name anything that you want that class to be, so that class will be a subclass of a superclass known as any. So any is like a parent of all the classes in Kotlin that we have. Just like in Java, we have the object class. In Kotlin, we have any class. So by default, all the classes, uh, all the classes in Kotlin are final, means you cannot inherit them. So to inherit them, you have to add a keyword that's open. And also there are constructors. Okay, constructors. Let me give you a brief about the constructors. As soon as you make an object of the class, the first function, or you can say the first function that would be called would be a constructor. So when you make an object of the class, that function will be called. Anything that is written into that functionality of that function, the object will, the program will do that. The program will do so. So there are two types of constructors in Java, in Kotlin. That's the primary and the secondary. So okay, that's enough for this slide. So without wasting time, let's jump off to our yet another pathway in Unit 2. Let's go to the link of the curriculum, the first track, Unit 2, and the pathway one. The fifth pathway. So in this pathway, we will be making a tip calculator app. So a glimpse of that app, let me show you. So here's the glimpse of our app. In this app, we will be typing this cost of service. Like you ordered some food of about $50, and then depending on the service, how was the service? Was the service amazing, good, or okay? You can check any of these button. Like the service was amazing, if, and then you can calculate the tip. So the 20% of $50 would be $10, and yeah, the dollar sign will also appear along with the tip amount that is calculated. So the tip that will be generated will be of $10, and also you can see that there's a round up tip option. So if we click the round up tip option, so it will round up the tip. Like there will no numbers after decimal. Like the tip is 18%, so it's showing $9 tip. But if we uncheck this and then calculate the tip, okay, let me select some other number like 51, so that it goes to a decimal. Yeah, the tip is $9.18. Now we can see that the tip is calculated in decimals also. So what the first code lab of the uh, pathway says, it's about the classes. So let's first get a hand study on the classes in Kotlin. So here's some prerequisites. Let's do the coding in Kotlin Playground. So I would like you all to go to Kotlin Playgrounds. We will code. We can code. So first it tells about the hierarchy. So hierarchy is like putting things in an order in which they appear, or putting things or objects in a particular order, like hierarchy that I told you with the example of animals, like the dog. The dog will be a class. The dog comes under the hierarchy of animals, and animals come under the hierarchy of living beings. So here we can see they have given the example of legume and vegetables. Like legume is some sort of vegetables, so legume will come under the vegetables. And then the legumes, that the two children could be lentil and chickpea, that the subclasses of legume, or you can say the children of the legume. There are a type of legume, the lentil and chickpea, that comes under the class legume. Similarly, if we talk about the hierarchy in our Android, so the view, as I told you, the widgets or the view, those that are the buttons and the edit text, they all come under the class view. Like they have something in common, like how they should appear, how they should interact with the operating system or the Android operating system of your mobile. So how they should interact with all that. The coding is everything in view class. So rather than repeating that code in edit text and then the button and the other widgets, they have put it all together under the view. And then that view extends the text view. The text view is basically for writing the text, that that holds the code for, or the property for writing the text or the viewing the text. And that the text view that is extended by the edit text and the button. The edit text, wherein we can edit the text, we can take the user input in edit text. And the button, also on the button there is some text displayed, like in here the button here is written the calculate. So this text can be manipulated. To manipulate this text, we are extending the text view, and then we can use the text properties in our button also. And yes, as I told you, that any view, the any class in Kotlin, it is extended by all the classes. So first, okay, here we be going on with the dwelling. So let's get to the Kotlin playground and write this simple code that's written here. Let's first create a class dwelling, and as it was written here, the abstract keyword. So the abstract keyword, okay, let's first clear ourselves with the classes. So dwelling are some sort of space wherein people can live, the or someone lives. So we have a class dwelling, and then the concept of this code lab is that we will create these subclasses. Like there are types of dwelling, some round, there are huts, and then huts are square huts and the round huts. There are towers, that people also live in towers, and that also comes under the class dwelling. So to create a class, we first type the keyword class, followed by the name of the class, and then the parentheses. And herein we will describe the properties of the class. Like you can give any uh, val area, like the dwelling will have some area, then val rooms, or let's change it to var. And then what we want, that when the object of this class is created, the values are taken from the object while creating the object. So to do so, what Kotlin provides some shorthands. We can also do it with the constructor, but the primary constructor, we can use the primary constructor of the Kotlin over here. So we can provide, just type the parentheses after the name of the class, and then val room, that will be of type int, number of rooms, and then the val area, and that's also the type of, let's say, int. Then we will be having a print function over here, print. Let's just print everything in the main function itself. So to create its object, let's type val obj or any variable name that you want to give is equals to, so in other languages like in C, C++ or Java, you while creating an object, you used to type the keyword new, but that's omitted in Kotlin. So you can just write the name of the class, dwelling, and then the parentheses. But when I run this code, there will be some error like no, so it says the no value passed for the parameter room and area. So herein we have to provide some parameters. Like I say, there are two rooms and the area is 40 square feet. When I run the program, it runs without any failure. So now, if we want to assess those element or the properties of the dwelling that are room and area, so you can assess it by the dot operator. So just print ln obj dot room, and when we run the code, we will get the number of rooms that we have provided over here. So now let's just extend the let's just extend this or inherit this class. So class tower, uh, that's inheriting this class dwelling, and now we need since we are inheriting this class dwelling, so we have to also provide it the parameter, the constructor, the parameters for this constructor over here from here itself. So let me accept the parameter from here. Just copy paste this, and then I will pass these parameters to the dwelling class that we are extending. Okay, that's it. Now, rather creating the object of dwelling, let's create the object for tower. Let's just follow the camel case writing. Okay, so now we are expected to have an error, and yes, it says the type is final, so it cannot be inherited. So here, the class tower, it cannot be this class. Sorry, the class dwelling cannot be inherited because I told you that all the classes in Kotlin are by default final and they cannot be inherited. So to inherit them, we just have to write that open keyword, and then again hides member super type. Okay, sorry. Same. Let me change the variable x y, and then provide those x and y over here. Yes, as we can see, so here what's happening, we have created the object of tower, and that tower requires two variables, that the x and the y, and we have provided them in the parameter of that primary constructor. So here the value goes, two value goes to the x and 40 goes to y. And then since we are inheriting dwelling, so we need to pass something to the parameter of to the constructor, primary constructor that's here of dwelling also. So what we have provided them the value, we have provided them with the value of x and y. So the last code it didn't work because the name of the, because the room and the area. These properties are all already there in dwelling, so they cannot be repeated in the tower. So that's why the our code crashed. So here 2 and 40 goes to the room and int, and when we try to assess the room property of the dwelling, we are able to assess it since we are inheriting the class dwelling. So now, as written over here, that here the dwelling is abstract class. So what abstract class is? When you want to make some classes but do not want to initialize the functions or some properties in it, you declare those class as abstract. So replacing the open keyword with abstract. So here, so the abstract classes are by default all open, and you need to inherit them. And also, you cannot create the object of an abstract class. Like here, if I do val obj2 is equal to dwelling, 3 rooms with 60 square feet. So it will throw me an error. Yeah, it cannot instantiate the abstract class, or you cannot create an instance of abstract class. So abstract class cannot be instantiated, but you can use those properties of abstract class by first creating its subclass and then extended it over here. So if I add an abstract function area, and herein I print the area, println area equals to area. So if I run this code, and it will throw us an error because the function here, it is abstract function, and you cannot the all the function or any property or variable that are abstract in an abstract class, you cannot define them here or in the abstract class. You need to first extend the abstract class and then provide all those functionality in the abstract class. So if we override function area, and then provide all the write our code over here. Yes, our function. So here it throws us no error since we have first the overridden the area, that's an abstract function in the dwelling, and then we have given it the functionality. But also if you are inheriting abstract class, you have to provide the function to all the abstract. You have to provide the functionality of all the functions that are abstract in that abstract class. So now to use this function, just simply call it by the instance that we have created over here, obj dot area, and here our function works fine. So uh, in this code lab, it's all about the classes, the basics of the classes that I have explained you here. And since we are we have limited amount of time, I would like you to explore this code lab on your own. And if you face any errors, if you face any issues, we can discuss it on our WhatsApp group or the Telegram group. So now let's jump on to our app. Just go to the second code lab of this pathway. So that's some prerequisites, and then start with the project. This gives us a glimpse of the project that I've already given you. So let's start a new project in our Android Studio. Go to File, New, new project, the empty activity, name it step calculator. Mm, Let me browse it over here only, and they just finish. So let's wait for the time our project is created. So moving on to next. So here it's about reading and understanding the XML. So in this code lab, like in last code lab, we have only worked with the design view of our layout file. But now in this code lab, we'll be working on with the XMLs also, the XML code. We'll be working more on the XML code of our layout file. So the XML is a simple, is a short form for extended markup language. So this language is usually used for designing purpose. Also, it's like same in like the HTML. It resembles like HTML that we use in web development for designing our web pages. So let's see if our okay our project is created. So let's get back to our code part or the layout file. So moving on next. Uh, So here the first, if you look up on, it's the view group, the constraint layout. That's the view group that I had told you earlier. So you can see that it's written over Android dot constraint layout dot widget dot constraint layout. Rather than if you try out other layout, you just need to simply write linear layout, or you can say relative layout. There is nothing written like Android X dot and all the things. So why the on why this Android X and all is written over here? Because the constraint layout, it is not a part of the Android library. It is a part of Jetpack library. So here's the mention. Here it is mentioned all the path for that library. And these XMLs are some of the schemas that are to be followed by our layout. So here we can see the layout width and layout height that were earlier present in the attributes of our design that in our design layout view that can be found in the attributes. Here it's written in the code, and that's the context that will be referred. That this is our context where we'll be writing our all our code for the app. And then in constraint layout there is a text view. You can always split it and view the code and the design together. So when we click on the text view, it shows that here's a text view, and here the constraint like bottom to bottom of and the left to left of. So you don't need to mug up or remember all these attributes name. You can always type a bit of it, and then you will find it in the suggestion part. We will see it while we will using our IDE. So here it's all about reading the code in XML. So let's start with our code. So first, mm, okay, let me close my this project. First, let's remove this and then enter the edit text in it. Let me zoom in the code for you. So open brackets and then EDI, and you can see here in suggestion return edit text. And as soon as you write the edit text, some attributes layout width and the layout height that are the basic attributes appears that's written by ID automatically. Just write wrap content and wrap content. Again, let's get back to, and it's written type the input type to text and ID to plain text, plain underscore text underscore input. So let's set the ID and input type. input type, that's text, and the ID, just write ID and then press enter, and then press enter. That was underscore input underscore text. So now let's set some constraints. Like here it is set layout constraint start to start of parent and top to top of parent. So you can imagine that it's aligned to the top left of our app. So just type start and it says, then find layout constraint start to start off, that's parent, and side top, and you will find that layout constraint top to top of parent. So here you can see I've not memorized all these attributes name or how to use them. I just take advantage just that the ID provided, the recommendation that our ID provides. So here it's showing a little red line, and that means there is an error. And yes, the error is that every tag in an XML have a closing tag. Like here, the constraint layout, it have its closing tag over here. So let's add that closing tag also. Let's first just make an angular bracket, and here we have its closing tag that start with slash and then followed by the name of the tag. But still, it's showing us a yellow line, a warning type of thing, and that's a suggestion that if nothing is contained in between the opening and the closing tag, you can just use the shorthands. That is, for ending the tag, just write a slash in the end, and here's our tag is closed. So here you can see our little uh, text view over here. So get back. Let's get back to our core lab. And okay, so now to review our text, like uh, what's written over here. Like if you are writing something, it will be written. So you can always test it by using the tools property, uh, tools text, and then type uh, cost of service. And yeah, the cost of service, when you will, since we are using this tools clause over here, this cost of service will not be visible when we run this app. Rather, it's only visible to us while developing this app. That's what the tools property do. And also, let's change the ID to cost of service as written over here. Okay. So now getting back to our edit text, here we can see in edit text they have added some more attributes. That's the hint attribute, and also the size of the width they have changed. And the input type is number decimal. Like the cost will all not it's not in a text type. So first let's change this thing also. Let's change the input type to number decimal, and that the width was 168 dp. There was a hint, use the hint attribute, and the hint was cost of service. Service. So let's just remove these tools. So what this hint will do, like it will show, the hint will be visible to us like this, that is giving us, like if you just put up a empty edit text over there, the user won't know that what we have to input over here. So to tell them or to give them a hint, we use the hint attribute, and this hint attribute also giving us the warning, since it is hard coded, and if the language of the phone is other than English, it will still be appear in English. So let's just put this in string resource file, press the OK button, and yeah, now we are extracting it from the string resource file. Now let's move on to our code. Okay, so the final code that is to appear like this. Here we have another tag, that's the text view tag, and that's how asks the question about how was the service, and the ID for the tag is service question. Let's copy this, and the constraint is the start of parent, and the top constraint is to the bottom of the cost service. So what it just says that it happens to be viewing under this view. So let's write in the text view wrap content. Let's give it the ID as mentioned. Okay, now let's put the constraint. The start was from the start of parent, and to make it appear under this uh, edit text, let's set the top constraint to the bottom of this. So layout constraint top to bottom of. Now, rather than writing parent, we will type the ID of the edit text that we have given over here. Uh, so let's ID. The ID is cost of service. Let's just close this tag, and also we have to display the text. The text was how was the service. Let's just copy the whole thing, paste it over here. So now you can see that it's constrained under the edit text view. Our text view is under the edit text view. Now moving forward with our layout design. Now we need to add the radio button. Uh, so what are the radio buttons? Here you can see that we can select amazing, good, and okay, but we can select only one. So these buttons are all grouped under the radio button. Like it's a group of buttons where we can only select one at a time. So let's just add it, and here we'll be using the attribute radio group. So what this the radio group will be grouping all our buttons. Like we have three buttons, so the radio group would be grouping all our buttons under this. We will be grouping all our buttons under this radio group tag. First, let's also extract it from the string resource. Type radio R, and here the radio group appears. So let's look over the properties. The properties are wrap content and wrap content for width and height. Orientation of the tags will be orientation of the buttons will be vertical. And yes, our buttons that are appearing one under the other, they are all aligned vertical. And the constraints, as you can see, the starting at the start of an parent, and it is stop is at the bottom of service question. So type wrap content. Let's put in the constraints. The start contains up to the start of parent, and the top constraint is the bottom of ID service question. Now let's see if you're missing the orientation. Orientation is vertical, and let's just add the ID over here. The ID is tip options. Now that we have added the radio group, now we can add the radio buttons under it in this group, and that we can add by using the radio group widget or the view. Since we will be adding the groups in this in between the radio group, so you need to have an closing tag for it. Let's make some space and then type radio button. The width is wrap content, height is wrap content. The text is amazing 20% and the ID is option 20%. Save the ID and the text. Let's extract this text also from the string resource. And since we don't need to add anything in between the radio button, so we can close it over here itself. No need to add that closing tag. And similarly, we can add rest of the three radio buttons. So here I'm just copy pasting the code, but I request you all to that when you are doing it, you just type the code so that you can remember, you have a good practice and extract the string resources. So now this is how our app is appearing. Um, Here we have added the edit text where we'll be adding the cost of service and the question how was the service and the radio buttons. And no need to look after those icons. We'll be adding icons also later. So in radio button, we have to provide some default selections also. Uh, like when the user start the app, there is something already selected, and that you can do with the check button attribute of the radio group. So in your radio group, just add this attribute check button and give the ID of 20% option, 20%. And you can see here our 20% is uh, defaultly our 20% is checked. Now moving forward, so that's yes, that's how code is looking like. Now completing the rest of the layout. Now we need to add a check button and this check button and text view and this button. You can sorry switch button. So to add the switch button, we have a switch attribute. Sorry switch tag. So the simply type switch button just added after the radio button radio group switch. Here we get the switch and the width is match parent and the height is wrap content. So here when I click on the switch, you can see that it's taking the width of the whole width of the app, and it's the wrap content means that the size of the text that will be appearing over here. Let's provide other attributes also that are okay. So what they have done here, they have just provided the width as 0 dp, and then they have the end of constrained the end of the switch to the end of the parent. Okay, so we will constrain it also. The text is let's add the ID and constraints first. The ID layout with 0 dp. Now let's constrain it. Type end to end of parent, start to start of parent, and top to the bottom of our radio button. So let's take options. Okay, so it's appearing fine. Now it's in the bottom of our radio buttons, and then we need to by default. Okay, then we can add another property, another attributes that's checked. Like by default, this button will be checked, and this text also we need to add over there. Set the text and then extract it from the string resource, and the checked attribute set it to true. So here we are done with our switch button also. Now moving on to our button, that's calculate button, that when pressed will calculate the tip. So the let's first copy the ID of the button. Also here also we can see that the width is set like the same way that we have done earlier. At the button view, width is 0 dp. It is match parent height. Let's set the ID and the constraints. You start constraint to start of parent, and constraint is to the end of parent. Something. Okay, height. Sorry, it will be wrap content, and the top constraint to the bottom of round it up. So here our button is stretched all over the width of the parent view or the our app, and then we need some text to be appeared on this button, that is calculate. Let's extract from the string resource. Okay, so here is our here's how our UI of our app is going on. Now let's move on for the last of our view, that is the text view. And here you can see the text view is to constraint of the end of the parent. The text view is appearing at the end of at the end, not on the left, at the right corner. So that we can do by setting the constraint to the end constraint to the end of the parent, and the the top constraint to the bottom of our button. Let's just copy the ID. Uh, with is wrap, height is wrap, ID that we have copied, and the height contain or the end constraint is the end of parent, and the top constraint the bottom of button. Button. Now let's type the text that's written in here. The text is tip amount. Add it to the string resource file. Okay, so as you can see, our the UI of our app is going quite well. uh, that's the now let's okay, the rest are about the adopting the good coding practices, like putting all your string resources in the string resource file that we have already done. That's the solution code and the summary and some resources to learn more about that we were doing till now. So now let's move on to the next code lab, that about that's about the theme of the app. that how you can change the theme of your app. Like there are two themes, a light theme and the dark theme for every app. Like WhatsApp, Instagram, they are adopting such practices. So the themes, if I code it right now, it won't be okay. It will be visible to you all. So the themes are the part of the material design library. Let me take you back to the presentation. The material design. So being a developer or a coder, the designing is not a cup of tea, is not a cup of tea. So to make our work easier, so what Google have provided us with, that's the Google Material Design Library that lays out some basic guidelines to how to design your app, or it also provide us with some of the basic views. Like the Google Material has its own text view, has its own switch buttons. So you can use those buttons to make your app appear more great, more beautiful, and more attractive. It also provides us with some widgets that I told you, and by default, the material theme that you use directly or extend. Uh, so the material themes, you can extend them in your current themes also. Let's get back to our code lab. So here's a bit about the color coding, that how the codes of the color work. Then moving on to themes. Mm, so themes, I would like you all to do it on your own about the themes. The and also I can tell something about the basics. Let me just change the view, show system UI. So here you can see that our app what's contain consists of is the, let me zoom in. This is the status bar that's showing the status of a phone. This is the toolbar of our apps that displaying the name of our app. And then we can find some of the buttons, uh, some color over here on the buttons. So what are the guidelines for the color of our app is like, uh, the status bar color, these are usually of color primary dark, and then uh, and the the app bar is of color primary light. So when you in resource, sorry, in project view, just go on to the resource folder, here in values, click on colors.xml. So here you can see the color primary. There are two types of color. So the what Google Material Library say that there are actually two. Just put two types of colors, that primary color and a color accent. The primary color can have two shades, that are primary and dark, and you can use the primary color, should be the most widely used across all your screens and components. So use primary colors as much as you can, like for displaying the app bar or the status bar of your app. And secondary color, these are usually used for indicating a related action or info. So moving back to the layout, so here you can see this, these are the accent colors. This, yeah, some sort of blue color is, it's an accent color that's showing some action, that yes, our radio button is on amazing, or a switch button is on for right for now. So these are some basic color guidelines. And also the primary color, if you click on this, the primary color, you can find that this is of 500 tint, and the dark color, it is, okay, it's not shown over here. Yes, so the, okay, so let me tell you that the primary color, it should be of 500 tint, and the dark color, you can set it to 700 tint or 900 tint. But the dark color tint should be of, this should be of, uh, it should be of larger tint. And also the primary and the primary dark are the same colors. So picking up apps theme. So for picking up the theme for our app, or the basic background colors, this status bar and the app bar. colors or this accent colors. What Google provides us with some color tools. Just click on this link, and here you can see that's the app bars. These are some buttons, floating action button and some rating button, and this is a status bar. So to see that how our app would look with the described colors that we were using, you can first select the primary for the primary colors. And if you put up the primary colors as green and the tint is 900, so your app will appear like this. And then for the secondary items that I told you, uh, that are something that should be indicated, like this floating action button. If you set it to 700 light blue, that's over here. And yeah, so this shows that how your apps is going to look. And also click on the accessibility. You can see if the text that would be written on will be white text or the black text, the text color that we'll be using will be visible on those colors or not. So you can see it gives up the ample information about it. And also what comes up with the API level 29 of Android 10 is the dark theme. The dark theme that you see in your WhatsApp and Instagram, you can also apply those dark themes in your app by following this code lab. By Okay, so you can go to this code lab and cover up the themes. I would not be covering it since we are running out of time. Uh, let's go on to the next code lab. Calculate the tip. So now we'll be writing our code on how our app should. Now we'll be writing some code that how our app should work. Till now, like we have only designed the UI. Now we'll write some code on how that UI is supposed to work. So these are some prerequisites. That's the overview of our app. Now view binding. So earlier what we were doing, like to just close this. Okay, to use these buttons or these text views, we would first increase the font. First create a val, then name it something. This val will be button, and then provided import the button, and then just provide it with the ID of this button, that is calculate button. So r dot id dot calculate button. And now we can use the functionality of this button. So to each all the views, to for each of the view we need to create a different variable. So rather doing that, what Kotlin provide us is with the binding, like just we need to create only one reference, and with that one reference we can use all these views, this button view, text view, and the switches and radio group, by providing their id by using their id. So how to encode it? First we need to create a variable that is latent. So what's this? Latent is another keyword in Kotlin that specifies that we are just initializing this, not initializing, we are just declaring this variable, and then we will providing this variable value later. So that's why it's named termed as late init. That's short for late initialization. So let's just copy this much from here and type it in a code. So it's showing I read. Just import this activity main binding. So what init activity, yeah, Okay, it should be declared in the class. Yes, it's in class. It's not showing import options. Just remove this button. Decide the further code that so the binding will be of the activity main binding type. Okay. Sorry. Before using this binding feature, we need to add this dependency in our build.gradle file. That's the dependency that we need to add. So just go on to project app, sorry, Gradle scripts, and then select this build.gradle file that your app level. This there are two build.gradle file. Make sure you choose this module app. This is your app level Gradle file, and herein we need to write this dependency. Just copy it. Uh, we need to type it in Android session. That's the Android section. Okay, we can write it over here and then sync a project. And yeah, it's a successful build. Now we can use the functionality, that binding functionality. Now we're getting the import, and yeah, now we can successfully import this activity main.binding. Now let's write a further code. I'm just copying this code, so there's less time. So what this code tells that there's a late init variable binding that's of type activity main binding, and then we're initializing this variable here, our binding variable, and we are inflating the layout inflator, uh, so that layout that's a layout. It's being inflated by this, and then we are setting the content view to the root of this binding variable. The root of the binding variable that will be a constraint layout. So now we can use all the views easily by providing their ID. Now moving on further, it shows how we used to do this earlier, like val button find view by ID, the ID of the button. Then to set the text, my button dot text is equal to button. Much better way would be val button binding dot my button, the binding that we have created, then binding dot my button. That's my button will be the ID of the button, and then you can easily use this my button. But the best way is using this binding variable followed by the and then dot the ID of the view that we want to use. That would be the ID of the button, and then the text property, and then we are setting the text over here. So moving further, let's set the property of the button, what the button should do when it is clicked. So type binding dot the ID of the button, that is calculate button. So calculate button. So here if you see that there is no here we have typed underscore, and also the B is in small form. But when you're using the IDs through the binding, everything is converted to this camel case form. That is the first letter of the first word is small, and followed by then the next letter, the first word of all the rest of the word, first letter of all the words are capital, and also the underscore is removed. And then the button have the set on click listener property, dot set on click listener property, and herein we can write the code that when the button will be pressed, all the code written between these curly braces will be will be processed. So just here we are calling some function that is calculate tip. Okay, now that's good coding. That good practices. Make functions. Use the functions as much as possible. Create a function. So now we have moved all our functionality over here. Rather than writing whole code in the onCreate method, we can now write the code over here. So this will make our code much readable and less messy. So let's see what is in of the what we need to type in this function. So where it says uh, there is string created uh, that takes in the cost of the service. So okay, what's the logic that we need? We will first take the cost of service from here, and then we will perform some calculations based on the uh, how was the service question. So let's just copy this code and type it in a function. So here what it says that there is a variable string in text field that takes all the string that is in text field, and that's by using the binding dot cost of service. That's the ID of the text view, edit text view, and then dot text that is used to get the text, and then use the to string to convert that text to the string format. And then what we are doing here that we are changing it to double, that we are taking the text from the edit text view, and then we are converting it to a double, and we are storing it the cost. So here we are getting the cost from the user. Now we'll perform the calculation based on this cost. So moving on further. So okay, we also need to have the uh, performance of a service. First, let me just copy paste the code. Uh, okay, now we need to select the tip options like how was the service. The user will input will choose that how was the service, was it okay, good, or amazing, and then we need to get that information. So what we are doing, we are getting the tip options. That's our radio button group ID tip options, and then dot checked radio button ID. Now it's getting the ID of the radio button that's been selected. And here here we come across another keyword, that's when. Okay, the when that we have covered last in the last session. So what is saying that selected ID, when selected ID is the r dot id dot option 20%. That's the ID of the 20% radio button, which 20 then returns 0.2 that we have converted into a percentage. That is written that we will, if the service was amazing, the tip will be 20%. So we have converted into decimal 0.2, and that will be the tip percentage. Now let's see further what's to code. Now here's a variable that's tip that will find out, that will calculate the value of the tip. So what will the value of the tip will be, the tip percentage, that's 0.2 or 0.18 or 0.15 multiplied by the cost of the service, the cost of all the food items that the user have bought. And also we need to check if roundup. Also, we have added another functionality over here. As you can see, the roundup functionality, that if the tip is appearing in decimals, then we can round up those decimals to the whole numbers or the integer numbers. Sorry. So how can we do this? We can use the if statement. If first let's get whether it's rounded up or not. Copy the paste. copy and paste it over here. So val roundup, that is, so now we are getting the information from the roundup switch. Yes, we are getting information from this switch whether it is checked or not. So how we are doing that? Using the binding variable binding dot roundup switch. That's the idea of a switch. Dot is checked. Now this is checked function will return something true or false that is stored over in here in roundup. And if it is true, so if roundup, and just convert to integer value. So how to convert it into the integer value? Here we are using the ceil function of the Kotlin. So what this ceil function, and that's in the math class. So kotlin.math.ceil, what this function, the ceil function will do that if what will be the tip if it's 1.1 or 1.2, it will convert it to the ceil value or the next integer that will be after 1, that is 2. So if the tip is 1.1 or 1.5, it will convert it to 2. And if the tip is coming out to be 5.5, it will convert it to 6. So now moving forward with our code. So okay, now another problem that occurs over here, that the tip could be in dollar or in rupees or in any other currency. So what Kotlin provides us with the number format class, that is, we can just get the number format of the system, the Android system, like the number format that is that user is using in his phone, whether he is using the US dollars or the euros format or the rupees format, and then it will display the sign of that currency according to that. So how we will do this is by creating a variable that will get the currency instance, and then we'll format that tip. So let's just copy and paste the code over here. So here we can see, let's just import this number format. Make sure you import the java.text, that's here, this one. So here it will get the currency instance from the user's device, and then it will format our tip. So where that if our tip is 5, then our tip, that then if we have calculated our tip as 5, so it will convert it to dollar if the instance of the user device is dollar, or it will convert it to 5 rupees. It will show 5 and the rupee sign if it comes that the user is using the rupee as its currency. So moving on, now we need to add some string resource. So just copy this and add it to a string resource file that's in values, uh, and just delete this tip amount that we have added earlier. So what this code is saying, that there's the tip amount should be should display somewhat like this: tip amount, then percentile s. Now the value of this percentile s will be provided by us from here, the formatted tip. So that's why rather than writing the value that we don't know, it will be, we are just putting percentile s. And then let's just copy this code and I'll explain it what's written over here. Now what we need to do is, we have calculated and formatted our tip from over here. So now we need to set this tip to our text view here. So to do so, we are using that binding dot tip result to access that text view, and then we are setting the text. So just use the dot text, and then we are using a get string function. And what this get string function will do, it will get the string resource from the string resource file that's over here, this string. and then it will add a formatted tip in front of it, so that what will your final string would appear like tip amount colon, and that the word will be the tip $5, $6, or if it's in the rupees, it's ₹5, ₹6. So okay, I think yes, that's it. That's it with our code. We have coded our app successfully, and also we have made our layout. So when you run this app, um, okay, it will take some time. So while it's running, let's check the text and debugging. So what this test and debugging part wants to tell you that uh, if in your app you enter some the user in this test and debug, we will be covering all the possible in we'll be covering about all the possible inputs that the user can enter. Like rather than entering a number, user can enter a string, or you can just leave it as a blank. First, let's test this app. Just type 50, and then the tip is amazing. Calculate, and yes, the tip amount comes out to be $10. Let's set type 51, 18%. Round up tip. No, we don't want to round it up. Calculate, and yeah, we are getting it in decimals. So what if user do not enter any amount and just simply type calculate? Our app is crash. Again, if I do so, our app crashes. Okay, so to overcome these possible crashes or these crashes, what we can change something in our code, or we can make our code feasible for these crashes. So rather than just string two double, using the two double, what we'll be using is two double or null. So what it will do, or what two double used to do, it used to take in the string, and if that string contains any if the string contains any alphanumeric or some white spaces, it will return some false value, or it will crash over here. So rather than two double, we will two double or null. So what this function will do now, if uh, two double or null, if there is a string or there is an empty text over there, so it will return a null value over here. And if the value of cost is null, we can just skip this function, or we can do nothing, and we can save our app, or we can return from this function like it's written over here. So if cost double equals to null, return. So it will save our app from crashing. Now let me run this again. Okay, now if I press on calculate button, so you see nothing happens over here. Okay, now again, one thing that we'll see, if we write 20 and then press the calculate, showing the same amount. mm, but now if like we have added 20, and now if we change the cost, that how was the service, then press calculate, so you see that that tip amount is not changing. So to do so, just add it over here. So what this will do, if user have entered anything, like I was doing here, if I press the calculate button, on the my text was not disappearing from here, so I need to press the backspaces and then do so. But what this line will do is that it will erase the text from here and then set a empty text over here. so that user don't need to again and again press backspaces to enter new values. So okay, that's all for this code lab. You can find the solution code over here, and that's some learning resources. And here in this code lab, it tells about adding the icon to our app. So as you can see that the app we just created, it just have a default icon that's provided by the Android. But in this code lab, it will tell you how to add a icon in this app. I will not be covering it in this session. So I request you all to go through this on your own. And if you have problems, you can ask them on the group. So let's see the last code lab. The last code lab tells us about adding the icons. So by default, there are many icons that are provided by the Android Studio itself. To use these icons, uh, okay, first let's see that what are all the icons that we need to add. So here we will be using some this heart type of icon or the shop icon, this bell icon, and this top arrow icon. So as I told you, to use any drawable resources, you need to add it in a drawable folder. So in your resource, go to drawable, right click on new, and then add a vector asset. I think so, yes. Then in the vector asset, just select the icon that you want to use. Mm, just see, let us get the name. Let's get the name from here. That's a store icon. In the search option, just type store, and here's the store. Press OK, and here you can see just change the name to IC underscore store. Next, that's the hierarchy, and then finish. Let's add few more variables. Go to the vector asset, just find the bell, bell service, okay, service icon, room service, that's the name of this icon. Let's also change this name also. Clicking on next and then finish. And then we have this roundup. Okay, the name is call made, name of this icon. Click new vector on call made, and what we need to provide, what's the name that we need to type is round underscore up. Okay, IC underscore up. Okay, so now that we have all our icons that we'll be using in our drawable folder, now let's just add it in our layout. uh, so to add this, let's see through the code. Okay, before adding this, let's just add again, let's just add another dependency, that's vector drawables. Control C. So it says here we need to in our apps build.gradle app. So again go to your app level build.gradle, and it's in Android, and then default config. Okay, so Android, and there's a default config. Just add it and sync. So now to add icons or images, so what we have discussed earlier, that we need to add some image, that we need to add an image view. Let's just add that image view. Okay, so that images to be have to appear for this free text. Image view and wrap content, and then let's just constrain start start of parent, constrain top to top of parent, and this image now will appear over this. So let's just adjust it. uh, let's provide an id. Let's see, the id is this icon cost of service. id is cost of service. Okay, and then start. Let's change this also, since the text needs to be appear, the starting of the text should be from the end of the icon. Right, icon cost of service. So now let's provide the source of this icon. Source travel IC. That's two. Okay, so now we have our icon and then our text view. Let's resize it. Let's also add this important for accessibility. No, we don't want to access anything uh, through this icon. So let's type no, and no, that's not, SRC is not the attribute for adding the image source. SRC compact, that's the attribute that we'll be using. Okay, so here we have our icon and then uh, cost of service. But this icon, as you can see, it's on top and small, and on top of this, that's not good. So let's constrain its bottom also. Uh, so bottom to bottom of ID, ID is service. Okay, so now it's appearing okay. Now it's the bottom constraint of this icon is matching with the bottom constraint of this cost of service. So here we have the whole code, constraint bottom to bottom of this, and also we need to set the top constraint. Rather writing the constraint with this constraint with cost of service, and then we have it aligned with the cost of service. Okay, so here you can see their text view is appearing a bit grayish in the background. That's due to they are using, that's because they are using the material design library. So that I told you that you can use it on your own. So that you can use it on because that was in the previous code lab and we are in a hurry. So I've just kept it and I want you all to do it on your own. So moving next, then now we have to, let's just copy paste this. That's for the service question icon. So where service question, uh, okay, here's added to the top of it, and just constrain this text view also. The start should be from the end of this icon service question. So now they're also aligned all together. And now you can see that question, that our radio button is also not aligned. That our radio button should also align below this service question. That would look good. So also we can constrain the start of this radio button from end of icon service question. Okay, now our app is appearing a bit beautiful or attractive. Now let's just add another icon. That's the roundup tip icon. Let's just copy the code from here. And I'm again telling you that I'm just copying the code because I'm in a hurry. But I would like that if you read everything, read the code and type it on your own. Wait, I think that I've messed with the spelling. Okay, let me rename it. It's browned up. To rename any file or anything, just go to the refactor and there we will find the rename option. Okay, so here I got another thing. Then click refactor and yeah, it's renamed and the error disappears from here also. But we need to constrain it, alt switch also. So constraint start to end of this image view that I see round up. Okay, now it's appearing nice. So yeah, that's all. And also that button, you can see it's aligned below the sound up tip. So now let's align a button also. Start to end of this icon. The icon ID is IC roundup. Oh, roundup switch, not switch, sorry. Icon roundup. Okay, now our button is also aligned properly. Well, about this color of the app, the color you can change it from the theme, the code lab that we have skipped in this. And here are some also how to style your icons and the rest of your app. So I want you to go through this also on your own as we are running out of time over here. So now let's just rerun this app. You just stop it and then again run this. So here you can see our icons over here. These icons are very closer to this text and all. You can clear them with the padding attribute of each of this image view or text view. Let's just add some padding here. Uh, what padding attribute does that it consists or it just fits all the everything that will be inside this view or this view group that would appear like if we as I said 6 dp, then everything you can have a space of 16 dp from the edges or from all of the corners so that it do not appear too close. They do not appear close to each other. Similarly, you can have margin that sets the distance between the nearest view. Like if I set the margin in this image view, like if I set the right margin, margin right to 16 dp. So now the text, yeah, here we can see there is some distance between the icon and the text. So here, so you can add some margin and padding so that there is some gap between your all between your views, and they do not appear together too close to each other. So okay, here we'll end this pathway, our pathway 5. The rest of the pathway that we have skipped, please go it go through it on your own and just attempt the quiz for the batch. Now let's just move on. Okay, now we have a little, just a little time. Let's move on to our sixth pathway. Here it shows that I earned a batch. Sixth pathway. Not signed in. Just sign in my Code Labs. Okay, so in this code lab, what we'll be building an affirmation app that will be showing some codes along with the images, and the codes will be appeared in a list view or the recycler view. You can say like in WhatsApp, all your chats you see that you can scroll through them. So how you are scrolling through them is because by the use of the recycler view. What recycler view enables is the our ability to recycle or to scroll through the views. So before beginning with the recycler view, let's have a discussion. Let me tell you about the list in Kotlin. So yeah, list in Kotlin. The list. So the basic definition of list that I can tell you is the list is a collection of similar type of data, but it's not like array. List have are more flexible and it have more functionality that makes it good. That makes it nice for a programmer, and the programmer uses list over the arrays. So the list in Kotlin, they can be mutable or immutable. So what are mutable and immutable? Mutable lists are those that can be changed in, further, like the variable, the vars. You can add some more items to the list, or you can change, edit the items that are in the list. And the immutable list are the one on which you cannot perform any operation like adding or editing, but yes, you can access those. So if you have some information that is not to be changed further, you can use immutable list. And if you have some information that you think that will be edited, like the contacts in a contact list, you can use the mutable list. So let's go with some coding part of this list. Let's move the previous code. So to uh, declare a list, just type val or the var, whatever you want, followed by the name of the list. And then if you want an immutable list that cannot be changed, just use the function list of, and then provide all the elements in this list of parameter, 1, 2, 3, 4, anything number or strings that you want, and then you can print this list using the print function. So here you can see our list is printed, but if I try to add something in this list, like list dot add 6, I'll so an error occurs. So yeah, you cannot add or edit something in a immutable list. But if you want to make an immutable list, just use the function immutable list of 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you can easily add something. Wait. There's some typo. List. Uh, just wait for some second. Okay, I was using immutable. I was supposed to use mutable. So I was creating a mutable list. I was writing immutable. That was a mistake. Just type mutable. And yeah, you can see there is no error, and we are easily able to add this 6 item over here. Now again, if I print this list, So okay, we here you can see that 6 was added. So in this way, you can add or delete or edit something in the list. So now let's move further with our slide. So next comes the recycler view. So as I told you that it is a flexible view for providing a limited window into a large data set. Like you have a list of, so here you can see we have a list of movies and they are the genre of the movies and what type of movies and that's the release year of the movies. So suppose you have a movie class and that movie class have the name, genre and the release year. So all you want to display, so what you have done that you created some view group, a linear view group type of something or a constraint view group. In that view group that you added this text view where the name will appear, that again the text view where the genre will appear, and then the text view where the year of the release will appear. Now what you want to do this in this constraint layout you are now you what you want that you want to display multiple of this constraint layout. As you can see that there is again another constraint layout. Here are the text views under it and there's the next one. So to do so you will be using a recycler view. The recycler view will take this constraint layout and it will display all the items in this constraint layout. So now to do so, what recycler view needs is an adapter. So the recycler view adapters, the recycler views adapter, what it will do that it will take the data from your list and then it will fetch that data into the constraint layout and then it will take that constraint layout and it will give it to the recycler view and the recycler view will display that layout as a whole. And why the name recycle is given to this recycle view is because that rather that if you have 50 items, rather than creating 50 constraint layout, it would just create few of the constraint layout. Like here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 constraint layout can fit in this window. So it will just create the 9 constraint layout. So as we scroll up, this Mad Max will go out of the screen and the Lego movie will appear. So what it will do, it will use this constraint layout, the edit the data, and it will provide it with the data that's below this Lego movie, and then it will show it from the bottom. So you can think it's like recycling these constraint layouts again and again, and that's why the name recycler view is given to this. So let's move back to our code lab. Okay, we just going quickly through this code lab as a entire session is going to end. So first, let me show you that how this app will be appear. So here I've given the name scrollable to this app. So yeah, that's our app. Here you can see it's kind of card. Uh, just increase my font size. So here you can see that there is a card, and this card consists of a text that I am strong. The code that's the text, and also it consists of the image. So okay, you can figure out that we'll be adding some images we will be adding some images in our resource file, in our resource folder. uh, so let's just start making this app. Okay, so first code labs gives us the introduction of list. You can go through this code lab on your own to have a brief idea about the list. It's a nice exercise and also it provides with some more like you can how to loop through uh, list, and there's also something known as var that how to take multiple arguments in a function. So just go through this code lab. uh, let's start with our app. Just create a new project, file, new project, empty activity. Next, just name it affirmation. is the name of the app. Click finish. So let's just go to the code lab. Okay, so here you can see the first to use the material library, we have added some dependencies. Then setting up the list. These are the list of the codes, and as I've told you, the string we as the code lab says that the string is that we need to type all this code in a string resource file, so that these strings are automatically convert translated to other languages according to what the user will be language that the user's phone will be using. Then moving on further, we need to create you can see that we have a data class affirmation. So here we see another keyword, that's data. So what data classes are, like in Java you have the Pojo class, similarly in Kotlin we have the data classes. So what data classes hold? These just hold the properties, like the affirmation will have the code and the image of that code, corresponding that code. So it will just have two variables, the image and the code. And to get that image, it will have some function, get image and the get code. And to change that, and to change those codes and the image, it will have set code and set image. So rather than typing those functions, if you use a data class, these functions are automatically embedded for you. So you just need to add the properties to the class. So the images we'll be adding it in next Colab. So herein you can see that we have just used a single property, that's string resource ID. Uh, so let's do what it says. Going to the build or gradle at the app level, and then adding the dependencies of the material library. To add those dependencies, just change this app.compact to the dependencies I provided and then sync now. And now in the string resource file, let's just add all the resources. Copy and paste. So the first one is the app name, and the rest are the codes. So now it says that we need to create a package model. So what packages are? Packages are something that are that we can use to group our data, to group our similar classes under one thing. So like if you have a package, so all the model of our data will be under, like if we are working on different types of data, so those different types of data will be having a different types of model. So those different types of models, that they will be grouped under the model package. Let's create this model package. You can name it anything that you want. And in that model package, we are creating a Kotlin file for this data class, a Kotlin file or Kotlin class. Click to new Kotlin file or class. We are making a file that's name is affirmation affirmation, and press enter. And now let's give it these properties to affirmation. And we get a data class. So now what we need to do, okay, we have added, then create a class to be a data source. Okay, now we need a data source. Like now we need a class that will be providing us with the list of all the uh, codes that we have written in the string.xml file. So that we'll be writing in our let's just create in model itself. Name will be data source. we need to create this. Okay, in the information itself. So we are not creating it over in the model class. We are creating it in a source package, Kotlin file, data source, and then press enter. So here we have our data source class, and its function is just to have a no, it's need to have a load information function that will return the list that will return the list of all the strings that we are using. Let me just close this app, terminate. Okay, so we need to import this affirmation class that we created in the model. So here it's returning the list that will be creating that will be having all the affirmations that will return something affirmation type of data. And okay, so that's end of this part. Now adding a recycler view. So as I told you that recycler view is something that we use to display something that we use to display our data in the list format. So for recycler view, since we were using only recycler view, so the constraint layer that we were using is when we need to add a lot of views in it. Like in the last tab, we added a lot of radio buttons and the switch buttons and text views and edit text. So we were using constraint layer because our views are becoming complex and complex. So rather than doing so, now we just need to add a now since we are using only recycler view, let's just add a frame layout view group. That would be much feasible, and then use the uh, recycler view. Okay, and let's just copy all code from here, paste it. Okay, so that's a recycler view we have created. But in design, you can see yes, a recycler view is set. But if you run this app, you won't find anything because the data that needs to be displayed in this recycler view, we have not set that data. So for doing so, we need to have an adapter. So just go to project, right click, new package, name this as adapter that will be interacting with the data, and then it will be take that data and then bind it with the view that we'll be using, and then it will give it to the recycler view. So here we need to add yes that I like I told you, we need to have a view in on which our data will be displayed. So create a layout file, new layout resource file. What's the name of the resource file? That's list item. List item. Okay. So now since we only need to display the text, let's just remove everything from here and copy this text view. Okay, now creating an adapter. Just we have created the adapter package. Now we need to create an item adapter class into this package. New Kotlin file class. Name it item adapter. That's a class. Enter. So here we have a class. Now since the item, as I told you, the adapter will take the data from the data source or the data set that we have provided. So we need to provide some data to this. So to provide that data, we can yes use a primary constructor. So let's have a constructor. val. Here we can copy this. Control C, Control V. So here is another keyword that's private, and yeah, the private keyword meaning that you cannot use this data set property into any other class that you inherit in future. Like this item adapter class, it can, yes, we can inherit it by just writing the open keyword. But if you want that a class that inherit this private this class, the subclass that will inherit the item adapter, that you don't want to use, that you don't want to let that class use these properties, the dataset properties, so you can add that private keyword over here. So now that's our item adapter class. So this item adapter class also, we have stored all the strings in the string resource file over here. So to use those strings also, you need to provide it with some context uh, that can have a access to those strings. So you can copy this context from here, just paste it over here, or enter import this context property. Okay, so now here we can see we have a constructor. That constructor have two properties. That's the context and the dataset. The dataset will have a list of the codes that we'll be using, and the context, we will using the property to access that string. So you know that the string, it's encoded in this string.xml file. So to convert it to the string format, so we'll be using with this with the context property. So now we need to have a holder in our item adapter class. So let's just copy this. So what this holder will do, okay, so what this holder will do, that it will take this item, that list item layout. It will take this layout, or you can write any other layout. Like you can see here is a layout of, we have three text views here. So it will take out this single layout. Uh, it will take this single layout, and it will take the data from data source, and it will put the data uh, sorry, it will not put the data, it will take that layout, and it will put that layout over the recycler view. So yes, the holder, as the name suggests, it is used to hold a view. It is used to hold this list item layout in this recycler view layout. So to complete it, it also extend recycler recycler view holder class. So to make it a item view holder, just type just extend the recycler view. Let's get back to code lab. Yes, here's the recycler view. Control V, and let's just paste it. Import all the things that is asking for. So you need to make any holder for your adapt to make a holder for your adapter. You need to extend this recycler view holder that is provided you by the recycler that is provided to you by the recycler view class, and this view holder class, and this, you can see that it is having the val text that is referring to this text property, item text. Okay, since we are running out of time, so thank you for attending this session.